and now it's something where that position needs to be closed out. Yes, I'm looking here, and what the cause of this is. Frankly, there was a margin position, I believe, or no, there wasn't a margin. There was a position where you were shifted over into Apple, and from there you were put into a prime brokerage, and there is some issues where there is what's considered to be a minimum equity balance. Now, minimum equity balances are requirements for prime brokerage accounts to maintain trading privileges. So there was a position where the assets were supposed to be liquidated, but because they liquidated the entire position, it did not account for the minimum equity balance. So that causes issues. You have to understand there is an entity that deals with the conversion of shares into currency. Obviously, you have to have that conversion there. You have shares, you want to turn them into money, and the entity that deals with that, it's an agency called the DTC, or the Depository Trust Company. Now, the DTC, again, what they do, and just straightforward and simple, they are the entity that deals with the changing of shares into physical currency. So that is where the issue has been, because the minimum equity balance wasn't adhered to. So what we have done is simply reverted the account back to a retail account. There is no margin position or anything of that nature on the account, so there's no problems at all with that. So we've been able to convert it back to a retail account. It voids the requirement for minimum equity balance, and what we can do there is just get the capital released. But right now we have a pending position because there are shares on the transaction that haven't been completed as of yet. Exactly, because there is a sell for a position, and that is part of the position. So essentially the transaction is stuck with the DTC because we're selling a position that isn't owned. So you can obviously see how that can cause a bit of complication. You can't sell something that we don't own. So once we have that position cleared and processed, then everything is straightforward. And as I said, we've converted the account back to a retail account, so there is no longer the minimum equity balance requirement. You have trading privileges with the retail position, so there is no issue whatsoever there. But the only issue that we are facing right now, and from what I understand, there was a problem with the transfer agent and their insurable limits or something of that nature. They exceeded the amount of funding that went into the account, and they had to reject funds in order to stay within the insurable limit. So that is where the funds were tied up and being sent back to you. Now I do understand that they have returned to your account there, and we've ordered the liquidation of the asset. But again, we've ordered the liquidation of the entire asset, which includes that position that was returned. Completely understand how you could be a bit frustrated with how this transaction and this position. Well, the issue here is that we've already filed and registered the trade confirmations where you have agreed to the purchase, agreed to the sell. So it's something where once a trade confirmation is signed and lodged, then we're in a position where that is effectively a signed contract. We can't turn that around, especially because the shares have been delivered. So it's something where not only have the shares been delivered, but we've in turn began selling out that same grouping of equities. We don't maintain a relationship directly with the exchange. We rely on relationships with executing brokers as well as other brokers that are in positions where they deal with the DTC, they deal with the different exchanges, and it's something that's required in order to essentially keep our clients' information confidential. The primary use of our service for the majority of our clients is tax mitigation. So you can't mitigate taxes if you're having positions directly registered with the exchange. So there is an executing broker that holds the position and trades through a DTC institutional ID. Well, you have the documentation, you have the trade confirmation, you have your online account statements, you have verification that the assets are here. This is an off-market position. This is part of a large grouping of a block-traded equity. This isn't something where we've bought one share, two shares, and registered them directly in our client's name. The whole purpose of using our service is tax mitigation so that these assets are not directly linked to clients. Again, if there is an equity trading on the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange and they're directly registered in our client's name, generally there's a tax treaty between the U.S. and pretty much every country in the world, so that information would go through to the relevant tax authorities. So you can't have tax mitigation and have everything on a registered position like that. It just doesn't work because, again, the whole point of trading offshore with a firm like ours is to mitigate your taxes, and the only way you can mitigate taxes is through keeping positions discreet. It's all in the account statements and the trading confirmations. That is the verification. Well, these are block-traded assets. This isn't something where you're opening an E-Trade account and buying a few shares here and there. This is a process where large institutions and high-net-worth individuals use this method of trading and dealing with the markets to avoid excessive